Chosen one, something happened in the heavenly realm that they did not warn you about. Something occurred in a moment that felt ordinary to you. Felt like just another day of pushing through. Just another instance of holding your ground, when everything in the world was pressing against you. A moment that looked small from the outside, but registered in heaven like a seismic event. And when that moment happened, when you stood in that particular way, when you carried yourself with that particular spirit, with that exact combination of fire and groundedness and unshakable knowing, God went quiet. Not from disappointment, not from frustration, from something else entirely, from something that does not have a simple name in human language, from the kind of awe that even God reserves for the rarest of things. The Archangel Michael, the one who commands the armies of heaven, the one who has stood at the edge of impossible battles, since before this world had a name, turned to look at what God was looking at. And Michael, who has seen everything that the spiritual realm has to offer across all the ages of this world, who has witnessed warriors and prophets and kings, and martyrs and intercessors carrying burdens that broke nations, Michael looked at you, at the attitude you carry, at the specific way your spirit holds itself when the pressure is on and the witnesses are few. Again, Michael was truly, completely, and without a doubt stunned. Please think about that for a moment before we go any further. The Archangel who has seen it all is shocked by you, by the way people in your life have been telling you to handle things, and by the fire that your problems have been trying to put out, by the refusal that is built into you from the inside out. Not giving up on being small, when you refuse to put down people who are uncomfortable with what God put inside you. This message is for the chosen one who has been told their whole life that they need to be more humble, nice, tasty, and fun to be with. The person who got in trouble wasn't told off for doing something wrong, but for being someone who makes other people aware of their own flaws. People have called them difficult, proud, too intense, too much, hard to reach, scary, and someone who thinks they are better than everyone else. They were never willing to act like they were less than what God made them, though. The person who slowly but surely began to think that maybe everything was okay. If the fire they carry isn't a gift but a problem, it could be the thing that burns inside them, and won't go out no matter what tries to put it out. If that thing is really the flaw in their character, that everyone in the past kept pointing out. If only they could have more peace, success, and relationships that last. They should learn how to say no. Please pay close attention, chosen one. Being speechless in front of God was not a sin, someone signed it. It was the sign of someone who was so in tune with who heaven wrote they were, before the world was even made, that even God stopped to take it all in, not to fix it, to keep it hard, to see it and treat it with the same respect that the Bible says God has for people whose hearts are completely His. Perfect does not mean whole. Complete means not split up. Complete means that they have the right kind of fire inside them, and won't let the pressures of the world change it. The thing that people in your life have called a problem is your attitude, which is not split up. It can't be sent somewhere else. And heaven knows what that means for the kingdom, and your calling. Even if the people around you can't see past how it makes them feel. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today, join our community, and see what God brings back into your life. I want to explain what it means to be spiritually speechless before we talk about the 5 things God saw in you. We don't mean that God was confused when we say that God was speechless. There is no confusion for God. It's not that we think God didn't expect this. In the same way that people are surprised, God is not surprised. In the divine framework of how what happens on earth affects what happens in heaven, there are times when things are seen in a different way. There are times when something happens in heaven that doesn't just be acknowledged or watched over and over again. There is something that ripples and makes the people who watch from heaven take note in a way that is different from how they normally do that. Now is one of those times, your time. That kind of ripple was caused by the way you think, and it has been building into something specific for your life. Something that has to do with the fact that God was speechless, and then there was silence. There was something in the silence that wasn't empty. Making a choice could be heard in the silence. When there was silence, something that had been waiting for you finally had a chance to come out. Let me tell you about Michael in the architecture of heaven. Knowing his part will help you understand how important it is that he was shocked. In the Bible, Michael is called one of the chief princes. In the angelic realm, this title only belongs to the most senior figures, and means that the person is very close to the throne. He is the warrior angel who fought the prince of darkness directly in the book of Daniel. It was his intervention that ended 21 days of spiritual battle and gave Daniel the answer he had been looking for. In the book of Revelation, he is called the leader of the heavenly armies, and the one who will lead the final battle against the ancient enemy of God and people. Michael has been around since the beginning of time. He has seen every battle, every miracle, every moment of bravery or cowardice in people. And every time someone did what they were called to do, or turned away from it. He knows what the anointing looks like when it comes out, and when it goes away. He was there when events in history changed the world. These are events that we read about, and events that will never be written down by humans, but will be recorded in the books of heaven. Michael has seen everything. Michael was shocked by your attitude and the way you carry yourself. Not just one thing, like the fire, the groundedness, or the refusal, but how those things sit together in a way that heaven doesn't seem to see very often. Because being called a chosen one doesn't happen very often. A lot of people call. Rare is the person who keeps answering the call at the same speed and volume that you do. Someone who won't negotiate with diminishment. no matter who offers the deal, is pretty rare. What is rare is the attitude that God couldn't say anything, and you have that attitude. We are going to talk about 5 specific things that show up in your attitude. There were 5 things that God saw in you that, taken together, made the moment that changed something about the plan God had for your life. We're also going to break down each quality and explain what it means for the present season. Because not being able to speak wasn't the end of the story. It was the start of something new. And the chapter that starts after God can't say anything about a chosen one is not a quiet one. This chapter is not a nice one. They've been building up to this part of their life for a long time. You have been told different things about yourself than what God saw in you. But stay with me. When you know what heaven really wrote, the story you've been telling yourself about your attitude, your fire, and the thing that makes you too much for some rooms will change in a way that can't be changed back. Before we talk about the 5 qualities, I need to make a direct point. Some of you who are watching this right now have had a part of your attitude used against you. People have told you that your fiery personality is controlling, that your refusal to give up is selfish, that your high standards are difficult at work, and that your deep hunger for God is prideful, performative, or somehow questionable in churches or communities. These words have hurt you. Maybe they are right. Maybe I should soften. Maybe the way I am is actually the problem. They have put a layer of doubt between you and the full experience of what God put inside you. I'm not here to tell you that you have always done the right thing. We haven't all done it. But I'm here to tell you that what you believe at your core, the part of you that God saw and couldn't say anything about, is not the problem. It was never a problem. The problem is that the world hasn't yet come up with a word to describe what you are. And some people couldn't stand what your existence showed them about how far away they are from where God wants them to be. I'm going to call your refusal of false floors the first trait that God saw in you. At different times in their lives, each chosen one is given what looks like a place to rest. A place that is close enough to what they dreamed of and familiar enough to make their hunger seem unreasonable. People in their community are proud of them for reaching a certain level of success. They are in a relationship that meets enough of the requirements that wanting more makes them feel ungrateful. They are fulfilling their calling in a way that gets them into the rooms they are allowed to be in. People who love you want you to stop climbing, so there is a lot of pressure to see this level as the end goal instead of a waypoint. They don't hate you, it's just that seeing you climb makes them remember why they stopped. Because the floor they made peace with was the ceiling you are pressing against, and they need you to be okay with it too. When you say no, you give them a possibility that makes them feel uncomfortable. Because of this, the pressure they put on you to stop is usually very strong and comes from people who care about you, are smart, or love you but can't follow where you are going. You turn down every false floor they offered you. You won't be happy with a destination you weren't meant for, because of something inside you that God wrote before you were born. This isn't because you're not thankful, you're not tired, or you don't feel the weight of the climb, or the loneliness of being on a level that few people can see or understand. It's because that part of you knows what it was made for, and can't be argued or guilted out of that knowing. It's possible that you've sat in rooms where other people would have been happy to stay forever, and thought about leaving. Because you know without being able to fully explain it. That this is not where you are supposed to land. That this is a waypoint, and not a destination. That the thing you are hungry for is ahead of you, and requires you to keep moving toward it, even when it's hard to move, and you can't see the destination yet. You've gone down false floors that other people would have had to crawl to get to. You've left comfortable plateaus in your career, your relationships, and your spiritual life, and each time, people who didn't understand why what seemed like enough wasn't enough for you talked badly about you. Heaven kept track of every refusal. God saw every time you turned down the version of your life that was almost right, but not quite right. All of those moments, spread out over the years of your life, shaped your attitude in a way that led to the moment that left God speechless. The second thing God saw is what I'm calling the fire that doesn't need an audience. People have two types of fire inside them. The first kind burns when someone looks at it. Yes, it roars when there is praise, when someone is praised, when everyone is paying attention, when feedback is good, and when metrics are moving in the right direction. The fire is real while it's going. It is not a fake. It's natural, human, and right, but it needs fuel from somewhere else. When the crowd leaves, it goes dark. When the recognition stops, it gets smaller. To keep burning at full power, it needs confirmation from the outside world. Because of this, its output is linked to the environment, and goes up and down depending on how much the outside world responds to it. A lot of fires are like this. While it's not embarrassing, it's also not so bad that God can't say a word about it. The second kind of fire goes out when no one is around. After the cheers have stopped and the room is quiet, the season of fame has ended, and the season of obscurity has begun. If the work is being done in the hidden year, the in-between time, or the stretch of preparation, that doesn't look like anything from the outside, if the community isn't celebrating the calling, if there isn't much proof of progress, if the timeline is long, and if the fire could very easily go out, but doesn't, then the work isn't done. It doesn't even dim. It stays the same temperature day or night. This is the fire that God sees and can't take his eyes off of. This is the fire you carry. There were times when there was no reason for you to keep burning. For long periods of time, you had nothing to show for your hard work. But you kept growing, showing up, and applying yourself to your calling. There was no proof that it worked. There was no important point that proved the direction. The fire did not go out. It wouldn't let go. Not because you are great, or because it was easy to be quiet. But what's burning inside you isn't made by you. It comes from somewhere that isn't affected by what's going on outside. God can see where it comes from. It's something only God knows. And heaven takes notice in a way that normal faithfulness doesn't when a chosen one carries that kind of fire. Another thing God saw in you was this second quality. Not just that you care a lot. While things are going well, a lot of people are excited. There is a lot of passion that runs when things are going well. But that you are on fire in the quiet, in the hidden, and in the times when passion doesn't pay off right away. Where the cost of continuing is high and the reward of stopping is immediate relief. That doesn't happen very often. But God saw it in you and kept seeing it even though there wasn't any outside confirmation. During times that should have worn it down. And something about seeing it led to part of the moment when I couldn't speak. The third quality is the one that people around chosen ones most often get wrong. In my language, I call it the weight-bearing posture. Certain people carry things, not just general problems or the normal trials that come with living, specific, heavy, unfair, and unfairly disproportionate burdens that came into their lives. Not because they earned them, but because of who they are, and because the enemy of their calling saw them as a threat early on, and started putting pressure on them in a specific way. You can feel these burdens. They're not metaphors. They are pressures on money that came at the worst possible time, and in the worst possible amount. Losses in relationships that happened right when people needed each other the most, and the foundation felt weakest. Health, opportunity, and timing setbacks that looked like they were caused by war rather than chance. The kind of trouble that doesn't just happen to you, but seems to know exactly where you are weak, and how to put the most pressure on you, with the most accuracy. And the chosen one who carries these things with a certain posture, not one that acts like they aren't heavy or one that shows off their strength for people watching to see if they will fall. That posture is seen in heaven more than anything else. It's the posture of carrying them while still moving forward, pressing toward the calling, showing up in the morning, and doing the next thing, refusing to let the weight determine the direction or the destination. Since it's not performance, it's not possible to fake the weight bearing position. Either the weight is really on you, and you are moving while carrying it, or you are pretending to do something that isn't real, and the people in heaven can tell the difference more clearly than anyone else. God has seen how heavy it is on you. God hasn't been blind to it, pulling his eyes away from it, or holding off relief because it's not ready yet, or because you haven't been good enough to deserve it. God has seen your posture, how you've carried what was put on you, and how you've kept going even though the load wasn't fair, wasn't proportional, and wasn't something you did anything to earn. He has seen how your spine has stayed straight, your direction has stayed true, and your purpose hasn't been rerouted by the pressure. The third thing about your attitude that led to the moment that left God speechless was the way you carried your weight while still moving toward your destiny. In these messages, we sometimes go through the qualities so quickly that we don't give them time to land where they need to. That's why I want to take a moment to ask you something. Have you ever been told that you were doing a good job with something when you weren't sure? Someone may have looked at how you were living your life and said, "I don't know how you do it." What if you told them you weren't sure you were doing it at all? You were still here, still moving, and still wouldn't stop, even though it would have been nice to stop. That's the posture for bearing weight. God saw exactly what you said. The "I'm not sure I'm doing it, but I'm doing it anyway," is what heaven sees and records as one of the deepest expressions of what it means to be a chosen one in the real, unfiltered circumstances of their calling. Because faith that knows it is winning isn't something that only a few people have. What's the rarest kind of faith? Faith that doesn't know yet, but keeps moving forward anyway. Even though there isn't enough evidence to make moving forward seem reasonable. That's your faith. That's how you stand. That's the third thing that made God and Michael watch in silence that was louder than any words. The fourth thing God saw about your attitude is what I'll call the sound of your yes. It's not what you say yes to, but how you say it. When someone you choose says yes even though they know it will cost them, that yes has a certain quality to it. It's not the yes of someone who doesn't know what they're agreeing to. It's not the enthusiastic yes of someone who hasn't felt the weight of the calling yet. This is the yes of someone who knows, who has been on the journey long enough to know that saying yes to God means agreeing to things that won't always feel like blessings at the time they happen. Yes to the trimming, the planning that looks like it will take longer than expected, the fire that refines without a reason, the waiting room that doesn't say when it will end, and the doors that shut just as the important doors open. That yes carries a lot of weight, and you keep saying it, even though you know you won't get immediate relief, an explanation, or a reward. You have said yes to God when it would have been easier and more socially acceptable to say no. It was hard for the people around you to understand why you said yes. From the outside, the path your yes meant you would take looked like a step back. From the outside, it looked like a waste of time. It looked like you were giving up things that a wise person would have kept. The yes still came, because the fact that you know this is the right path is stronger than the logic that says something else is better. Because how you feel about God is not something you decide after looking at all the evidence. It's just the way you are. God heard that yes over and over again. In the spiritual world, there is something special about the way a chosen one says was. Someone who has been chosen knows what they are saying, has felt the cost, and still said yes. Their yes is not naive, it is chosen. Their obedience is not automatic, it is chosen. This sends a different signal to the heavenly realm than the normal signal of human faithfulness. Along the whole path of your life, God has been getting that signal from you. It was easy to say yes sometimes, and it cost you something real and visible other times. During the years when saying yes bore fruit that other people could see, and the years when it led to hidden growth that no one could understand or celebrate. The moment that left God speechless was built by your yes coming back over and over again. It's not that you've never wavered, but even when you were doubting and asking questions, the yes always came back. And that's one of the most important things about how strong your faith is. As this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our Ko-Fi community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus' plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself, Jesus says. This is not history, it is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. Once more, Michael was truly, completely, and definitely shocked. Take a moment to think about that before we go on. The archangel who has seen everything is amazed by you. The advice people in your life have given you. And the fire that your problems have been trying to put out. By the fact that you refuse from the inside out. Not giving up on being little. That's when you refuse to put down people who don't like what God put inside you. Someone has been told their whole life that they need to be more humble, nice, tasty, and fun to be with. This message is for them. It wasn't because they did something wrong that they got in trouble. It was because they show other people their flaws. They are thought to be scary, difficult, proud, too intense, too much, hard to reach, and someone who thinks they are better than everyone else. But they never put on airs that made them feel less than what God made them. The person who slowly but surely began to believe that things might be okay. As long as the fire they carry isn't a gift but a sin. It could be the thing that makes them feel like they can't put out the fire inside them. If that thing is really the character flaw that everyone has been pointing out for years, it would be great if they could have more happiness, longevity, and peace of mind. They need to learn how to say no. Pay close attention, chosen one. Lack of words in front of God was not a sin. It was signed by someone. Even God stopped to take it all in. It meant that person was so in touch with who heaven wrote they were before the world was made. Not to fix it. To keep things tough. The Bible says that God treats people whose hearts are completely His with the same respect. To see it and treat it that way. Whole does not mean perfect. Full means not broken up. Having the right kind of fire inside someone means they won't let the stresses of the world change it. People in your life have said that your attitude is a problem. But it's not broken up. You can't send it somewhere else. Even if the people around you can't see past how it makes them feel. God knows what that means for the kingdom and your calling. It means you can't say anything spiritually. Now let's talk about the 5 things God saw in you. When we say that God was speechless, we don't mean that God was lost for words. Things are clear for God. We don't think God didn't expect this. The same way that people are shocked, God is not shocked. There are times when things are seen in a different light, from the point of view of God, whose mind works in heaven and earth together. There are times when something in heaven doesn't just get noticed or watched over and over again, in a way that is different from how they usually do it. Something in the world makes people who watch from heaven pay attention. Now is one of those times. The way you think set off that kind of wave, and it's been building up into something important for your life. Something to do with the fact that God couldn't say anything. And then there was silence. The silence wasn't empty, there was something there. In the silence, someone was making a choice. Something that had been waiting for you to come out finally could when it was quiet. I'm going to talk about Michael in the building of heaven. You'll understand how important it is that he was shocked if you know his part. Michael is known as one of the chief princes in the Bible. This title is only given to the most powerful angels, and it means that the person is very close to the throne. He is the angel of war, who fought the prince of darkness in the book of Daniel. He stopped the spiritual battle that had been going on for 21 days, and gave Daniel the answer he was looking for. He is called the leader of the heavenly armies, and the one who will lead the last battle against the old enemy of God and people in the book of Revelation. Michael has been around for a very long time. He has seen every battle, every miracle, every brave or cowardly moment in people. And every time someone did, or didn't do what they were called to do. He knows what the anointing looks like when it's there, and when it's not. He was there when important events changed the world. People write about these things. And they will also be written down in the books of heaven, where no one will ever write them down. Michael has seen everything. Not just one thing about you, like the fire, the groundedness, or the refusal, shocked Michael. What shocked him even more was how those things fit together in a way that heaven doesn't seem to see very often. As a result, being called a chosen one is not common. A lot of people call. Very few people answer the phone at the same speed and volume as you do every time. There isn't often someone who won't negotiate with diminishment, no matter who makes the offer. Sometimes people think that God couldn't say anything, and you're one of those people. Let's talk about 5 specific things that show up in the way you act. God saw 5 things in you that changed something about His plan for your life. We'll also talk about what each quality means for this season. Because being unable to talk wasn't the end of the story. Something new began. It's not quiet in the chapter that comes after God can't say anything about a chosen one. This chapter isn't good. They've been getting ready for this for a long time. People have told you different things about yourself than what God saw. But wait, hear me out. Heaven wrote a story about you that can't be changed back once you know what it is. This story will include your attitude, your fire, and the thing that makes you too much for some rooms. I need to make a clear point before we talk about the 5 qualities. As you read this, some of you have had parts of your attitude used against you. People have told you that your fiery personality is controlling, that your refusal to give up is selfish, that your high standards make it hard to do your job, and that your deep desire for God is pompous, performance-based, or otherwise questionable in communities or churches. These words hurt you. Perhaps they are right. Perhaps I should change. Perhaps the way I am is the issue. They have added a layer of doubt to the way you can fully experience what God put inside you. I'm not here to tell you that what you've done is always right. Not all of us have done it. I want to tell you that what you really believe, the part of you that God saw but couldn't say anything about, is not the issue. It was never a bother. There isn't a word in the English language, yet that fits what you are. And some people couldn't stand how much you showed them. How far from God's intended state they are. The first thing God saw about you was that you wouldn't settle for false floors. Each chosen person is given what looks like a place to rest at a different point in their lives. It's close enough to what they dreamed of, and familiar enough to make their hunger seem silly. Their neighborhood is proud of them for getting to a certain level of success. They are happy with their relationship, and don't feel grateful for wanting more, because it meets all of their needs. They are following their calling in a way that lets them know they are welcome in certain rooms. Many people who care about you want you to stop climbing, so this level feels like the end goal instead of a stop along the way. They don't hate you, it's just that seeing you climb makes them remember why they stopped. As you press against the ceiling, they made peace with the floor below, and they want you to be okay with it too. When you tell them no, you make them think about something that makes them feel bad. This is why the people who want you to stop are usually very strong and care about you, are smart, or love you but can't see where you are going. They gave you false floors, but you turned them all down. You will not be happy in a place you were not meant to go, because of something God wrote in you before you were born. It's not that you're not thankful, tired, or feeling the weight of the climb, or the loneliness of being on a level that not many people can see or understand. That's because that part of you knows what it was made for, and can't be won over or made to feel bad about it. Some people might have been happy to stay in rooms for a long time, but you might have thought about leaving. They know, even if they can't fully explain it, that this is not where they should land, that this is just a waypoint, and not the end goal. They know that the thing they want is ahead of them, and that they need to keep moving toward it, even though it's hard, and they can't see the end goal yet. Other people would have had to crawl to get to the false floors you went down. People have said bad things about you every time you got out of a comfortable place in your career, your relationships, or your spiritual life. They didn't understand why what seemed like enough wasn't enough for you. Heaven kept track of every no. God saw every time you turned down the almost perfect version of your life. All of those events, spread out over the years of your life, changed the way you felt, which led to the moment that made God speechless. I'm going to call the second thing God saw, the fire that doesn't need an audience. Everyone has two kinds of fire inside them. The first kind makes you feel hot when you look at it. It does roar when someone is praised, when everyone is paying attention, when feedback is good, and when metrics are going in the right direction. While it's going, the fire is real. It is not a fake. It's normal, human, and the right thing to do, but it needs fuel from somewhere else. It gets dark when everyone leaves. It shrinks when the recognition stops. For it to keep going at full power, it needs proof from the outside world. Its output changes based on how the outside world reacts to it, so it is connected to the environment. This is how a lot of fires look. Not too bad that God can't say anything about it, but not so good that it shouldn't be said. The second kind of fire goes out when no one is around. The season of fame is over, and the season of obscurity has begun. The room is quiet after the cheers stop. It's not done if the community isn't celebrating the calling. There isn't much proof of progress. The timeline is long, and the fire could easily go out but doesn't. The work is being done in the hidden year, the in-between time, or the stretch of preparation that doesn't look like anything from the outside. It doesn't even dim. The temperature doesn't change during the day or night. God can't take his eyes off of this fire. This is the fire you carry. There were times when you didn't need to keep it going. You worked hard for a long time, but had nothing to show for it. But you kept growing, showing up, and putting yourself through your calling. It wasn't clear that it worked. There wasn't a key point that showed the way. The fire didn't go out. It would not let go. Not because you're great or it was simple to be quiet. No matter what's going on outside, what's burning inside you isn't something you made. It comes from somewhere else. God can see where it comes from. God is the only one who knows. Being faithful doesn't mean much to heaven, but when a chosen one has that kind of fire, it does. This second thing was another thing God saw in you. It's not enough that you care a lot. A lot of people are happy because things are going well. When things are going well, there is a lot of passion. But that you are on fire in the quiet, in the hidden, and in times when passion doesn't pay off right away. Where the cost of continuing is high, and the reward for stopping is immediate relief. He saw it in you, and kept seeing it, even when there wasn't any outside confirmation, during times that should have worn it down. And seeing it made me unable to speak for a while. The third trait is the one that most people who are close to chosen ones get wrong. I call it the weight-bearing posture when I speak the language. There are some people who carry specific, heavy, unfair, and disproportionate burdens that came into their lives because of who they are, and how the enemy of their calling saw them as a threat early on, and started putting pressure on them in a certain way. These people don't deserve these burdens, they just are who they are. You can feel these weights. They're not figures of speech. These costs put stress on money at the worst possible time, and in the worst possible amount. People lost relationships just when they needed each other the most, and the foundation felt the weakest. Health, chance, and timing setbacks that seemed like they were caused by war instead of luck. The kind of trouble that seems to know exactly where you are weak, and how to put the most pressure on you. Those who carry these things with a certain posture. Not one that acts like the things aren't heavy, or one that shows off their strength so people will watch to see if they fall. Those who carry them with that posture are seen more than anyone else in heaven. You have to carry them while still moving forward, answering the call, getting up in the morning, and doing the next thing. You can't let the weight decide the direction or the destination. As long as it's not performance. There is no way to fake being in the weight bearing position. You are either moving while carrying the weight, or you are acting like you are doing something that isn't real. The people in heaven are the only ones who can really tell the difference. God knows how hard it is for you. It's not like God hasn't seen it or been avoiding it, because it's not ready, or because you haven't done enough to deserve it. On the contrary, He has. God saw how you stood, how you carried the load that was put on you, and how you kept going even though it wasn't fair, wasn't proportional, and wasn't something you earned. He has seen that your back has stayed straight, that you haven't changed your direction, and that the pressure hasn't changed your purpose. 3 things about your attitude led to the moment that made God speechless. The third was how you carried your weight while still moving toward your calling. We don't always give the qualities enough time to land where they need to in these messages. That's why I need to ask you a question. You might not have been sure if someone told you that you were doing a good job with something. It's possible that someone looked at your life and said, "I don't know how you do it." What if you told them you weren't sure you were doing it at all? You wouldn't stop, even though it would have been nice to. You were still here and still moving. That's how you should stand to hold your weight. God heard everything you said. Heaven sees and records the, "I'm not sure I'm doing it, but I'm doing it anyway," as one of the deepest expressions of what it means to be a chosen one in the real, unfiltered circumstances of their calling. Because having faith that you are going to win isn't something pretty much everyone has. What kind of faith is the rarest? There is faith that doesn't know yet, but keeps going forward anyway, even though there isn't enough proof to make going forward make sense. That's your faith. That's how you stand. That was the third thing that made God and Michael stand still and listen. They could not speak. I'm going to call the fourth thing God saw about your attitude the sound of your yes. It's not what you say yes to, but how you say it. It's a good sign when someone you choose says yes even though they know it will cost them. It's not a yes from someone who doesn't know what they're saying. That kind of yes doesn't come from someone who hasn't felt the weight of the calling yet. Yes, from someone who has been on the journey long enough to know that saying yes to God means agreeing to things that won't always feel good at the time they happen. According to the plan, the trimming will take longer than expected. The fire will keep getting hotter for no reason. The waiting room will not say when it will end. And the doors will close just as the important doors open. That yes means a lot to you, and you keep saying it even though you know you won't get help, an explanation, or a reward right away. People around you found it hard to understand why you said yes to God when it would have been easier and more socially acceptable to say no. The path you would take after saying yes looked like a step back from the outside. It looked like a waste of time from the outside. It looked like you were giving up things that a smart person would have kept. The yes still came. The fact that you know this is the right path is stronger than the reason why another path would be better. It's not how you feel about God that you decide after seeing all the proof. You are the way you are. God heard that yes over and over. There is something special about the way a chosen one says yes in the spiritual world. Someone who has been chosen knows what they are saying, has felt the cost, and still said yes. Their yes is not naive, they chose it. They don't have to obey, they choose to. This sends a different message to heaven than when people are faithful, which is what usually happens. Through your whole life, God has been getting that message from you. Sometimes it was easy to say yes, but other times it cost you something real and clear. When saying yes paid off in a way that other people could see, and when it paid off in a way that no one could see or celebrate. Your yes coming back over and over again set up the moment that left God speechless. You have had doubts and questions, but the yes always came back, even when you were questioning. That's a big part of how strong your faith is. You are about to enter your divine future. But remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit Community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary, where we discuss the Word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit Out Community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. Before we get to the end of this powerful story, let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected, faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment, a place where divine abundance is not just a hope, but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter a sanctuary where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.